around, and it takes us all a while to accumulate here. So devotees will start making their way here soon. So please make sure to come and sit up closer as much as possible to leave room in the back for devotees who will be joining here shortly. Prabhupada Priya Mataji she has been in this movement for over 30 years. She is a renowned educator who has herself Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, and a Bhakti Vedanta degree. But she's also a teacher in various institutions, teaches for GBC College, teaches Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava in various places. So we're very excited to hear from her today. She will be speaking today about the 5 principal teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we're very excited to hear from Mataji. Let's loudly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to welcome her. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you. Can you play Mridanga? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gaura Premanandi Haribo. So what time does the class go till? Usually 12:30 or 12:45. Okay, we have a lot of time. Good. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome everyone to today's class. I was just very inspired walking around, seeing all the classes going on for the children, different ages of children, and seeing some very serious students and some very inspired teachers teaching the next generation of leaders here of Krishna consciousness in Austin. So that was very enlivening for me to see. It's very nice to be here. And the topic today, the 5 pillars of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, I'm going to frame a little bit in the context of Krishna consciousness being a science. The Srila Prabhupada would often say that Krishna consciousness is not a religion, because or it's not a oh, go ahead. Thank you. Because a religion or faith is something that can change. You know, you can change from one religion or faith to another religion or faith. But he would say that Krishna consciousness it's the constitutional nature of the living being, of all living beings. And the process of awakening this innate, dormant Krishna consciousness is a science, the science of bhakti. So it's a very great spiritual science. And we know all about material science, right? There's biology and chemistry and physics and, meteorology and entomology and what's that? You have another one? Epidemiology. Yeah, so there's so many sciences in the material world and material fields of study. And generally, science follows a system or process called the scientific method. Raise your hand if you're familiar with the scientific method. We all learn about that in school, right? I remember when I was going to school, every year you'd learn the scientific method, and then next year you'd learn it again and again and again, and you go to university and again the scientific method. So why is the scientific method so important for scientists? Anybody know? What's that? That's the only method they know. Well, because in order to be a science, it has to follow a process, right? You can't just do whatever you want and call it science. There has to be an agreed upon process by which knowledge is attained. Okay. So then I was thinking about how the scientific method is so important in material science. Does it apply to spiritual science? Does bhakti go along with the scientific method? So I thought through the different stages of scientific method, and the first is observation. So first is that you just kind of observe the world and you notice things that are going on, and based on your observations, then you come up with some idea. Like you're walking around and you see that every time a leaf falls off the tree, it falls down. It never falls up, does it? So you may think, okay, well then I have a hypothesis that there is a force in the world that causes things to fall down. And then after that, so there's observation, hypothesis, and then experiment. So then you need to start experimenting with things. And then while you're doing the experimentation can go on for a long time, right? If you're doing a scientific research, it can go on for years and years until you have enough data. So while you're doing the experiment, you're collecting data. And then when you have a substantial data, when you start seeing some correlations and things, some trends in your data, then you analyze the data. So then you're going to do all these systems of analysis, mathematical formulas. You're going to make graphs and charts and represent it visually. And then after analyzing the data, then you can draw conclusions based on the data, right? So that's the scientific method, basically. And the conclusions, once you have the conclusion, you go back to your hypothesis, and you're like, okay, did the data that I collected, did the conclusion that I drew support the hypothesis, or did it disprove the hypothesis? And if it disproved it, then maybe you need to come up with a different hypothesis. You need to come up with a different research question and start again from experimentation. So then I was thinking that as far as observation, in my own life, I remember back when I was maybe 14 or 15 years old, I started very carefully just observing the world. You know, like, what's going on in this world? Because here I am, a young person, and I'm just starting my life. How are people living? What are people doing? What are they going for? Like, what are they out to achieve in this world? What are the kind of goals that people have? And I was just observing that most people, they're trying to be happy, right? They're looking for happiness. They're getting an education so that they can get qualifications to get a job, so that they can earn money, so that they can get things that they think are going to make them happy. Or they're, trying to, have relationships that they think are going to make them happy. So everybody's just basically searching after happiness. That's kind of the ultimate goal of all endeavors of human beings in this world. So, but then I also observed that most of the things that people were doing to achieve happiness were not really getting them there. They were failing, basically, in their attempts for happiness, right? Relationships falling apart, things that you can buy with money don't really satisfy for very long. They might give some little, thrill in the beginning, oh, I got this, but then after a while it's like, meh, the next thing comes out, you need another thing, or that thing doesn't work anymore. So I was seeing that I was observing that most people's efforts to attain happiness materially, through material means, was leading to frustration. So then I thought there must be another way. And then I thought, well, okay, if material doesn't work, what's the opposite of material? It's spiritual. So let's see if spiritual life leads to happiness. And then I was brought up a Christian, so I started really paying close attention. I would go to church and pay very close attention to the sermons that the pastor was speaking and doing service for the church. My mother and I started cleaning the church and singing in the choir and really being involved. And I was feeling something. I was feeling like, wow, there's something here. This is actually satisfying. And the satisfaction that I get from this makes me just kind of give up on the other things, like I realize that this is a much higher happiness just from these basic things. But then I got to a point where I wanted to know more. I was realizing, okay, there's something here. This actually works. But I feel like there's more. I'm hitting kind of like a ceiling here. I need to know more about God, basically, because through what I was learning in Christianity, through the Bible, and they talk about God, and of course there's Jesus and things, but they don't really tell you what God looks like, even what his name is, what he does, who his friends are. You just don't have that information. But to really know a person, you need to know about them. I mean, you need to love a person, to have a relationship with a person, you need to know them. So I was really wanting to know more about God. And then, my prayers brought me to devotees of Krishna, brought me to ISKCON devotees. So then, observing the activities of ISKCON devotees, I was like, wow, this is like next level. I went to the ISKCON temple in London, central London, 10 Soho Street, that's the address. And when I saw the devotees in Kirtan, I was like, this is really, these people are really happy. And it wasn't just during dawn, it was like all the time. They were just so friendly, so enlivened, wanting to share, wanting to give. And, it was just really wonderful. So then I thought, well, let me experiment with this. So my observation was that, okay, material life doesn't work, but spiritual life seems to work. And the more you apply yourself to spiritual life, the more it works. Because with Christianity, it was like, we would go to church for, 1 or 2 hours a week. And then after that, we would just go about our mundane lives. But the devotees in the temple at the time, it was like a full men's ashram, full women's ashram. Even the grihasthas lived near the temple, and they were coming to Mangalarti every day and doing services in the temple whenever they could. And it was just full-on engagement. So I was seeing that, well, the more you do it, the more happy you become. So let me just immerse myself in this and experiment for myself to see how I feel, to see what effects it has on me. So I kind of used myself as a human guinea pig in the experiment of bhakti. So then, like with science, when you're doing the experiment, you go and you note down, you take data, you measure things, and you make notes. So in my experiment of living in the ashram in the London temple, then I would keep a journal. I would note down at the end of every day what I did, how I felt about it. And there's a process. So just like every experiment has a process. How many of you have done like a chemistry experiment in your life? All right, everybody's done some chemistry experiment. So, when you go into the lab and you put on your lab coat and your goggles and you have your notebook there you've drawn your chart, you have to fill it in. So there's a process, right? First, you take this and you have to measure it very carefully, and you put a test tube, and then you pour you measure a certain milliliter of this one, pour the test tube, and then you put it over the Bunsen burner, you heat it up at a certain, to a certain temperature. You got the thermometer in there, and then as you go through the process, there are expected results, right? So let's say there's one test that I remember that it's something like testing for reducing sugars. Benedict's test. It's called Benedict's test. Benedict's test. You know that one? So you start out, I don't remember the details, but I remember that you put it over the Bunsen burner, and it starts off blue, and as you heat it up, it turns orange if in the presence of certain substances. It will turn orange. And then you keep heating it, and then some precipitate, some solid. It was all liquid, but some solid starts to form, and then it settles down to the bottom. And so there are stages. There are visible changes that take place that help you to understand that you're following the process properly, and that what you're testing for is actually being shown. It's being demonstrated. So there's a process for testing whether bhakti works, whether there is a soul, whether there actually is a soul in this material body, right? Because how do we know that we're souls? We read in Bhagavad Gita that, we're not this body, we're spirit souls. For the soul is neither birth nor death. He has not come into being, will not come into being, does not come into being. He's eternal, unborn, ever-existing, primeval. So we hear all about this soul, but how can we be sure that soul's actually there within the body? You have to test. So the test to detect the presence of soul is bhakti. And the test also to detect who the soul is and what it's meant to do, and whether God exists and whether we actually have a relationship with God, that can all be tested through bhakti. But there's a process to the experiment. So the process is, there are 5 things that we have to do. And one is association with devotees. So that's sadhu sangha. And these, actually, the process are the 5 pillars of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. So sadhu sangha means association with devotees. So that means we can't do this process on our own. If we try to do a spiritual experiment on our own, it's not going to work. We have to do it with others. So all of you are very wise because you're sitting here in this room together with others who are like-minded, who also want to grow spiritually and understand their relationship with God. So this is the first step, because when we're associating with devotees, then automatically the other things, the other parts of the process happen. It's kind of like if you're going to do a chemical experiment, you need to go to the laboratory because that's where the equipment is. That's where you can actually do the things that you need to do. So coming to the temple or coming to a home program or a festival or an event where there are devotees, that's where you can actually do the other things. And also, if you're not sure how to do the experiment, then you need, a senior, you need a teacher or a lab technician or somebody who can guide you through the process. So in the association of these, there will also be senior devotees who are very familiar with the process of bhakti, and they can guide us. And they can see that, oh, you're putting too much in the test tube. You need to, measure it very carefully. Let's say you're doing too much austerity. You need to just, chill out a little bit, and something like that, right? So they correct us, course correct us as we practice bhakti. So in the association of devotees, then all the other things take place nicely. So what are the other things? 4 other things. Well, there's one other thing that has to do with place, and that is related to coming to the temple, and that's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's called Mathura Vas. So Mathura Vas means living in Vrindavan. So here we are in Austin, Texas. We're very far from Vrindavan, India, the place where Krishna appeared. So how are we going to do Mathura Vas? How to live in Vrindavan? Well, we're very fortunate because Srila Prabhupada, who was a resident of Vrindavan, he left Vrindavan and came to the Western world. He first came to America, and he brought Vrindavan with him. He brought all the elements of Vrindavan with him, and he established embassies of Vrindavan all over the world. So all of our temples are like embassies of the original Vrindavan. Because wherever Krishna is, there's Vrindavan. If you think about what is Vrindavan, you read Krishna book, right? If you read Krishna book, you're reading the first part of Krishna book anyway. It's all Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. So what's going on in Vrindavan? There's Krishna, there are devotees of Krishna, there's devotional service to Krishna, there's a lot of love, right? Everybody's focused on Krishna in a mood of loving service to Krishna. Krishna's in the center of all the activities. So when we come to our temples, in any ISKCON temple you'll go, and there you'll find Krishna, Radharani also, she's very present in Vrindavan. You'll find Radha and Krishna. You'll find devotees of Krishna. You'll see devotees serving Krishna in so many different ways and with a lot of love, with devotion. So that's Vrindavan. What else? What is it? Maybe only the monkeys. But that's okay. We can do without the monkeys. We can practice Mathura Vas by just coming to the temple whenever there are programs as much as possible, serving at the temple, and creating that Vrindavan mood. Because Vrindavan is more a state of consciousness. It's a mood. It's a mood of selfless, loving service to Krishna with others, engaging in that service with others. Because you see that it's not just one person serving Krishna. It's all the gopis coming together and serving Krishna. It's all the cowherd boys coming together, playing with Krishna. It's all the cows coming together and, being herded by Krishna. So devotional service, it's a congregational effort. So we come to the temple, Mathura Vas. We're with devotees, sadhu sangha. We've already done 2 just by being here. Okay. Then what happens when we come together in this Vrindavan state of consciousness with Krishna, with devotees? Then what happens? Nam Kirtan. We're going to be chanting the holy names. So when devotees come together, there's always going to be Kirtan, because that's what devotees do, especially in this age, because it's Kali Yuga. And the process for this age is Harinam Sankirtan. That we have Gaurnitai here, the deities on the far left, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, who came in this age to teach us the Yuga Dharma, the process of making spiritual advancement in this age. And the process is Harinam, means the holy name of Krishna, Sankirtan, chanting together, chanting loudly with others. So during all of our arti ceremonies, there's going to be kirtan. Festivals, there's kirtan. Just at the beginning of the class, we did some kirtan, singing Jai Radha Madhava, that's kirtan. And then also we do japa. So I see some of you have bead bags around your necks, and in those bead bags there are beads, and on the beads we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. We do kind of mantra meditation. So that's also kirtan. And even another form of kirtan is even when you talk to each other about Krishna, right? Like I was seeing all these children's classes going on. So there's a teacher who's telling some story about Krishna, or asking the children, like Ram Vijay Prabhu was giving a class and he was asking, who knows the story of Prahlad? And so the children raised their hand, please narrate. So one boy was narrating so sweetly the pastime of, Hiranyakashipu getting his boons and Prahlad Maharaj being born and how he heard about Krishna consciousness from the womb and all this. So that's also kirtan. Kirtan means chanting the holy names. That's Nam Kirtan. And there's also Lila Kirtan, means telling the pastimes of Krishna. There's Guna Kirtan, which means talking about the qualities of Krishna, how wonderful Krishna is. So whenever you, actually when I first came, when Mataji was showing me to the temple, and she was showing me the pictures outside, and she was saying, Krishna is so kind, Krishna is so wonderful, he's given us this place. By Krishna's grace, we're developing this property. And then Ram Vijay Prabhu was telling me how the deities came here, how he came with 2 Radharanis initially, and how the temple was, just when the temple was becoming a little ready, then the Lord appeared. So that kind of, that's also kirtan, talking about the qualities of the Lord, how we can see how the Lord is acting in our lives and making perfect arrangements with the situations, even with construction and with shipping and with everything that we do. And you can see in your own life, if you just reflect on your own life, that how Krishna's hand is working, is guiding you in your own life through just daily things that you do with your family, at work, with other devotees, everything. If you're actually open to seeing Krishna in your life, you're going to see many ways in which he's working in your life, and you can start to feel Krishna's qualities, the way that Krishna works, right? Because if 2 people do the same thing, they're going to do it in a different way because they have different personalities. So the way that Krishna does things, by the way Krishna does things, we can understand his personality. And that way we can get Krishna's qualities, and we can when we share that with others, that's guna kirtan. Oh, Krishna's so kind. He arranged this thing for me today that was so perfect. I'm so grateful. Krishna's so wonderful. Or sometimes Krishna will do something that's like not expected, or you didn't want to do something, but somehow or other you ended up doing it, and you can understand that Krishna tricked you. Krishna's so tricky. He tricks the cowherd boys and plays jokes on them. He, goes to other people's houses and steals butter. He's very tricky. He's very sneaky. So we can see how Krishna also plays little tricks in our lives and gets us to surrender. So that's guna kirtan. So in all these ways we do kirtan with each other. We come together, we chant the holy names, we hear pastimes of Krishna. We speak just amongst ourselves. You don't have to be giving a class. You can just be like talking over prasadam, or hanging out with your friends or family members and just talking about Krishna. That's all kirtan. So we have kirtan. And then there's also hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavat Shravanam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, in the same way that for this age of Kali Yuga, it's recommended that we chant the holy names. The Hare Krishna mantra is the thing to chant in this age. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the book to read for this age. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a question that's raised by the sages, because Krishna was on this planet, and he was just about to, and he disappeared. So Krishna came, he was here for something like 125 years, performing his pastimes in Vrindavan, in Mathura, in Dwarka, performed so many wonderful pastimes that you can read about in Srimad Bhagavatam. But then he departed. He wound up his pastimes and he went back to the spiritual world, and he took all of his associates with him. So when Krishna came, he came to, he came to fulfill some purposes. So he came to kill the demons. So Krishna killed a lot of demons when he was here. He came to deliver the devotees, or pious people, to bring them closer to him, to save them from so many situations, to just give pleasure to them. And he came to reestablish religious principles. So that was at a time when the disciplic succession was kind of broken. There was little access to genuine transcendental knowledge. And so Krishna says that whenever this disciplic succession is broken, then I come myself to reestablish the principles of religion. And he did that by speaking religious principles to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. That was spoken on the Battle of Kurukshetra. He also spoke to Uddhava, the Uddhava Gita. That's there in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna's different places where Krishna gave very profound, extensive teachings on the principles of religion. And he also, he told Uddhava, you go to Badrik Ashram and teach the sages there. So, keep this knowledge flowing, pass it on. You've heard from me, now go pass it on. This knowledge needs to be accessible in human society. So when Krishna left, the question was asked, now that Krishna has gone back to his own abode, accompanied by knowledge and religion, where are religious principles going to take shelter? In other words, where can we go to find out what the religious principles are for sure? How can we know what are the real religious principles to be practiced? If we want to live a good life, a pious life, if we want to live a godly life, if we want to be saints, how do we know how to do that? And so the answer is Srimad Bhagavatam. That Srimad Bhagavatam is the book that was compiled by Srila Vyasadeva to shine the torchlight of knowledge, to shine like the sun. Just like the sun rises and dispels the darkness of the world every morning, so this Bhagavatam has arisen just like the sun to dispel the darkness of this age of Kali. So the age of Kali is we can see the world around us. It's not a very pretty sight. As soon as we leave the temple, it's like, oh my God, here I am in Texas. What's going on here? So we see, it's like they have these qualities. People have short lives, they're lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed, so much disturbance. And then that internal state of mind manifests externally and creates an environment that is also disturbing, So everywhere we look, it's just like disturbed people living in a disturbed landscape, disturbed society. And it's disturbing. But we don't have to be disturbed because we can just take shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we can, by immersing ourselves in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we can be uplifted, so that we're living in this world, we're still in the world, but we're not of the world. We're not affected by the disturbing features of life in this world. We can stay in the transcendental position. So it's important to regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And, in most of our temples, we have a Srimad Bhagavatam class every morning. There are a lot of Srimad Bhagavatam classes that are broadcast online nowadays. It's very easy to just plug in to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from so many different speakers all around the world. So that's very important. And then what am I missing? Deity worship. So the Archana. So Srila Prabhupada, whenever he established a temple, then as soon as there was a significant number of committed devotees in the temple community, then he would say, now we can install some deities. So now we've, just recently, I think just a few years ago, Radha Kunja Bihari have come here, and they come and grace us with their presence every Sunday on festival days. And when the temple is all ready, then the hope is that if Krishna so desires, then he'll take up permanent residence here in this temple, and he'll be worshipped with regular offerings, regular RTs, regular programs, and he'll be here, and all of you can take part in that worship. So, of course, the worship on the altar is, you have to have a second initiation to actually perform the artis and do the offerings and cook for the deities. But just taking darshan is also deity worship. Seeing the Lord is deity worship. When you come, if you bring some gift for the Lord, if you bring some boga, like some fruits or vegetables or grains, or if you give a donation, that's also deity worship, because that's going for the deity worship. It's going for the functions of the deities here at the temple. Or if you sing during the arti, that's deity worship. If you clap your hands in front of the deity, that's deity worship. So in all of these ways, everybody can be engaged in deity worship. So those 5 things, there's Mathura Vas, living in the holy place. So that means being a part of being an active part of your temple community. Belonging to a temple community is Mathura Vas. And then Sadhu Sangha, associating with devotees. It's said that especially if association with a pure devotee has such powerful effects that even, it's said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that even a moment's association, even like a second association with a pure devotee, can enable you to attain the perfection of life. So try to associate with devotees as much as possible. Best is in-person association, but if that's not possible, you can associate with devotees online. You can associate with devotees through their books. We're so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada gave us a wealth of transcendental literature. So he translated Bhagavad Gita from Sanskrit to English. He translated Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole 18,000 verses, into English, and his disciples finished the project after his departure. And for practically every verse of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, also Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada wrote his purports. So Srila Prabhupada said that you can know me through my books. So if we want to, we can actually associate with Srila Prabhupada by reading his books. And you might have experience of that when you read a book, even if you read a novel that's written by a certain author. If you get used to reading like there's a series of novels like, Harry Potter or something. So when you read those books, you get a feel for the author, right? J.K. Rowling, what is her style? What is her, what are the themes that are important to her that she's trying to pass on to us through her books, right? So similarly, like any author, if we read their book, we can get to know a little bit about the author, what they value, what's important to them, their mood, whether they're serious, whether they're funny, like that. So similarly with transcendental books, we can know Srila Prabhupada through his purports. And he invested so much of himself in his purports. And when we read Prabhupada's purports, we can understand Prabhupada's mood, and we can also understand Srila Prabhupada's mission. And that's very important for us, because as members of ISKCON, we are members of Srila Prabhupada's movement, and it's we who need to keep this movement moving. And we need to keep it moving in the because it's Prabhupada's movement, we need to keep it moving in the direction that Srila Prabhupada wanted it to move in, right? We can't take it another way. So we want to please Srila Prabhupada by developing his movement according to his mission, according to how he wanted it developed, and also according to his mood. So when we present Krishna consciousness, do it in the mood that Srila Prabhupada did it, in the mood that he wanted it to be presented in. And we can know all that through his books, through reading his purports. And another wonderful thing about Srila Prabhupada's purports that he himself said, he said that my purports are my ecstasies. He literally said that statement, that these are my ecstasies. They're not just my understanding. This is not just like an intellectual, explanation of the Shastras. But Srila Prabhupada, when he was writing, he was feeling ecstatic love for Krishna and ecstatic compassion for all the souls of this world who he was writing the books for. And so, the combined ecstasy of Krishna coming through him and the compassion of Lord Chaitanya for all souls is present there in Srila Prabhupada's purports. So when we read them with a very open heart, with a desire to connect with Prabhupada through that association, through associating with his purports, then we can also feel Srila Prabhupada's ecstasies, and we can also become ecstatic reading Prabhupada's books. And I'm sure some of you, we were talking about how when you study Prabhupada's books, when you present Prabhupada's books, it's so enlivening. You get a taste. You really get a ruchi. You get a taste from reading Prabhupada's books. That's like, it's so sweet. It's like, you can't stop reading. You get very, myself personally, I get so excited, and I read a purport and it reminds me of something else, and you just get in this whole network of, connections, transcendental connections, and you see how it's examples of it in the world and in your own life and devotees, and it all comes together in a whole big complete picture that's like, wow, Krishna is so real. Krishna consciousness is so wonderful. And that's the data. That's the data that we collect from this experiment, is that how it changes us, how it changes our lives. So maybe many of us, before we started experimenting with bhakti, before we started chanting the holy names and hearing Krishna Katha, hearing Bhagavatam, coming to the temple, associating with devotees, worshiping the deity, before we started doing these 5 potent processes of devotional service, we may have been, we were most likely in a very different state of consciousness. Our lives were very different. Our perspective on the world was very different. Our goals were very different. But as soon as we start to do these 5 things seriously, then we can experience like a change. There's transformation of the heart. And we become a little detached from, material ambitions. We're no longer like crazy about getting material things and, to just enjoy our senses through material objects and material positions and opportunities. But we're like, okay, I'm in the material world. I have a material body. I need, food, clothing, and shelter for myself and for my family. So I have to engage with this world to just get my needs met. But that's not what my life is for. I just need to do those things to keep the wheels turning. But that's not where I'm going, right? It's like you have to put gas in your car and you need to, to drive. But it's not about driving the car. It's about where you're going. So we keep the wheels of our material life turning, and we change the oil and we do the maintenance and we keep everything working fine. But where we're going is not, just somewhere in the material world. We're going back home, back to Godhead. We're going to the lotus feet of Krishna. And this vehicle, this material body that we've been given in this lifetime is our vehicle to help us get there, to engage. And that's what bhakti is. It's engaging all the senses of the body in the service of the Lord. We engage our hands, our legs, our mouths, our eyes, our ears, our noses in devotional activities. We learned from Maharaj Ambarish how to engage all the senses in Krishna's service. We engage our noses in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna, our tongues in tasting the prasadam offered to Krishna, our hands in doing different services like cleaning the temple, clapping in kirtan, our legs in coming to the temple, dancing in kirtan, walking here and there doing services, our ears in hearing about Krishna, hearing about the process of bhakti, hearing the holy names, our eyes in seeing the beautiful deity, meditating on the deity form of the Lord, looking at beautiful pictures of Krishna, which are like windows to the spiritual world, which awaken our desire to go back to our spiritual home with Krishna. So by engaging all of these senses, they become purified. The senses become purified. Rupa Goswami talks about that. How does that verse start off? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchite. That by engaging the senses in the service of the master of the senses, then there are two side effects. One is that the senses become purified, and the other is that we become free from material designations. In other words, we stop identifying with the body. We no longer identify with, our age, our gender, our nationality, those kinds of things. We identify with Krishna, that I'm the eternal servitor of Krishna, and this body is just a temporary covering of my real soul, and I'm trying to discover who I really am beyond the body, because right now we have a certain identity that's associated with our bodies, right? Like I could say that, according to this body, I'm a middle-aged white American woman, right? Somebody else is a young male American of Indian origin or something. So we could say that by bodily designation, there are differences. There are big differences. But this is not who we are. This is just what we've acquired in this lifetime. But actually, it's just a temporary situation. At the time of death, we're going to leave this body, and the soul's going to go somewhere else, into another body, and then who knows if you're going to be, a male or female, or which country you're going to take birth in, or, which color skin you're going to have, or what kind of hair you're going to have, or color eyes, and, it's going to be totally different. Of course, people, you can even end up, on another planet or in a different species. Of course, all of you are practicing Krishna consciousness, so you're not going to be in another species. You're either going to be human or higher. But so at least there we're safe. But the point is that this is not our identity. This is not who we are. This is just a temporary contraption that we're in. So then that leads us to the question of who are we? And that is that we are eternal servants of Krishna. And that can look many different ways. So, okay, if I'm an eternal servant of Krishna, what is my eternal service for Krishna? How do I serve Krishna? What is my relationship with Krishna? And then we hear in the scriptures, the Srila Prabhupada repeats many times that we can serve Krishna as a servant, we can serve him as a friend, we can serve him as a parent even, we can serve him as a lover. And so there are all these different ways that we can serve Krishna, and even within those main categories, there are different nuances of relationship, different moods, that we can serve Krishna. So we're trying to find out who we really are beyond the bodies, and bhakti is meant for uncovering, because it's there. Our relationship with Krishna, it already exists. It's an eternal relationship. It means eternal in the future, eternal in the past. Never was there a time when we did not exist, nor the Lord, nor anybody else. And so that relationship also, never was there a time when we didn't have this relationship with Krishna. It's just a question of uncovering it. So that's what bhakti does. When we follow this scientific process of bhakti, doing these 5 potent items of devotional service, then it uncovers, it unleashes us, it untethers us from our material identity. And it starts to uncover all the layers of material contamination, basically, that are covering our real identity that we've forgotten. And it gradually reveals that. And the more that starts to arise, the more actual spiritual identity starts to arise, then the more confidence we have in the process. And the more safely we can draw our conclusion from the experiment that, yes, I'm a spirit soul. I'm not this body. I am the soul within this. I'm the eternal soul within the temporary material body. And I have a relationship with Krishna. And this relationship with Krishna is very enlivening. It's thrilling. It's wonderful. And that is the source of my happiness. That no material thing can make me happy. But rediscovering that relationship with Krishna can make me so happy, more happy than I could ever even imagine being. So that's what the process is about. And all we need to do is just follow it, just practice it, just like with science. And it works for everybody. If you do a scientific experiment and you follow the process, it doesn't matter, how old you are, what country you were born in, whether you're male or female or whatever, it will work. If you follow the process, it works. That's what science means. It means that it's repeatable, it's replicatable. It will work anywhere, by anyone, because it's a science. It's not a subjective thing dependent on like other things. So Krishna consciousness also, it's scientific in that way that anyone who practices it is going to feel the results. And it's going to be very similar results in that we're going to become detached from material hankerings and lamentations. Our illusions about ourselves and others are going to be dispelled. The bad qualities within our hearts like lust and anger and greed and pride and envy will gradually be removed. And the good qualities, which are the inherent qualities of the soul, like compassion and tolerance and determination and ultimately love for Krishna, are going to automatically manifest as a result of the process, because it's uncovering what's already there. And that's who we are. We are loving, compassionate, inspired, happy souls. It's just a question of reconnecting with our true selves. So Bhakti enables us to do that. It's a wonderful process, and it really works. I've been doing it for 31 years. And every day it just becomes more and more apparent that it works. And every day it becomes more and more wonderful. A life in Bhakti is a wonderful life, is the best way to live. So I encourage you all, that everybody here has already begun. So just keep going and, take guidance from those who are, a step ahead of you on the journey, and who can help you along with the process, who can encourage you, who can answer questions, because there will be difficulties. It's not easy. There will be challenges, because it's like trying to swim upstream. The whole stream, the whole flow of this material world is just going to materialism. If you're in a river and you just kind of stay still, like just floating there, holding onto an inner tube and floating, you're going to go downstream. But if you want to go up, you have to work for it, right? You have to really swim hard. So to make spiritual advancement in the material world means we're going against the flow of this world, which means we need to put in a solid, determined effort. And it means also that sometimes we might need help, because we might get tired, we might become weak at different points in our lives, and we'll need someone to, hold our hand and pull us along, or at least stop us, at least hold on to us so that we don't start getting pulled back downstream. And that's another reason why association with devotees, that sadhu sangha, is so essential. So that keeps us going at all stages. But just keep going with the process, and the conclusion is that the hypothesis is true, that spiritual life is the way to happiness, and that bhakti is the most potent process for making spiritual advancement on this planet. So, just put your faith in bhakti and keep doing it, and you'll feel the results. So I'll stop here. We'll leave a little time for questions. Any questions or comments? Yes, way in the back there. Is there a mic, or? Otherwise, someone can be a relay person. Yes? Do you want to? Thank you very much for. Yes, in the back.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes. You are mentioning about identification of the soul. How do you identify there is soul in this material body? So, identification of oneself as not the body but the soul is Atma Vichara. Through the process of Atma Vichara, that is Advaita Vedanta. And Advaita Vedanta is a science. And you said Krishna consciousness is also science. So how can you relate Advaita Vedanta to Krishna consciousness?
Yeah. So Krishna consciousness means that there are three things. The servant, the served, and the service. So, and Lord Chaitanya, he explained, see, there's different schools of philosophical thought. That's what you're referring to, right, with Advaita Vedanta. So the Advaita Vedanta school, in my understanding, is that the goal is to become one, right? Advaita means literally not two. It means one. That the soul, the desire of the practitioner wants to become one with God. So as devotees, as practitioners of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, we don't want to become one with God, because if you become one with God, then how are you going to serve God? You can't have a relationship with someone who doesn't have a separate existence, right? A relationship means two. So you can't. So in bhakti, we realize the oneness, but also the difference. And that's Lord Chaitanya's philosophy of achintya beda abeda tattva. So achintya means inconceivable. So this is difficult to really deeply conceive. On a superficial level, we can understand it theoretically, but all the ramifications of it are inconceivable. But at least on surface level, we can explain. So achintya beda means difference. And abeda means no difference. And tattva means the truth, the philosophy. So the truth about our identity is that we are not different from the Lord, because the Lord is eternal, He's conscious, He's full of knowledge, and He's full of bliss. He's Sat Chit Ananda. He has those features. And we also, we are spiritual, we're eternal, we're Sat, we're Chit, knowledgeable, and we're Ananda, we're blissful as souls. So qualitatively, we're one with Krishna. We're made of the same substance. Prabhupada would use the analogy of, like, if you take a drop of water from the sea and you put that drop under a microscope and you analyze the chemical composition of that drop, it's going to be the same in a small proportion, but same as the whole sea, because it's like a homogeneous mixture. If you take a drop, any drop is going to be the same, as you can determine the composition of the whole mixture. So like that, we are made of the same substance. We're like cut from the same fabric, right? Kind of as Krishna, because Krishna's spiritual, we're spiritual. Krishna's eternal, we're eternal. Krishna's conscious, we're conscious. Krishna is loving, we are loving. But that's where it comes into the part where the difference is important, because how is that love going to be expressed if there's not another person? So in Krishna consciousness, we're the same, but we're also different in that we have a different identity. We're separate, we're individual. That's why I was quoting that verse, Natveva ham natu jas, that Krishna says to Arjuna, never was there a time when you did not exist, nor me, nor all these kings on the battlefield, nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. In other words, there was not a time when we were all one, just a homogeneous blob of spiritual energy. And there won't be a time in the future where we're just going to be one. We're all going to exist eternally as individuals. Okay? So, but love is expressed when there's someone else. So there's Krishna and Arjuna, and in that relationship there's so much love. We see when Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, there's so much affection. He really cares about Arjuna. Arjuna really wants to please Krishna. He wants to understand what Krishna is saying. He wants to serve Krishna. And the happiness that we were talking about, because my observation starts that everybody's looking for happiness. And that's the nature of the soul, is anandamaya abhyasat, that we are pleasure-seeking entities. We're looking for ananda, which means happiness. But in material life, we're looking for it in all the wrong places. We're not going to find it in those places. We're not going to find it in material things or in material relationships or material positions. But we need to look for it in Krishna. And happiness comes through serving Krishna. That's where it comes in relationship with Krishna. So we need to be individuals who can have a relationship with Krishna, who can offer service to Krishna, who's a different person. And so we're separate individuals. Krishna is an individual himself, and he has his transcendental form, playing his flute, performing his pastimes. And we also have our individuality. We have our form with which we render services for Krishna. So there's that difference of separate identity. And another difference is that God is great and we're small. So we were talking about that example of the drop of water, that it's the same chemical composition, but it's tiny, whereas the ocean is vast. It's practically, endless from our perspective. So in the same way, Chaitanas Chaitananam, how's that? Nitya Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadati Kaman. Prabhupada would often quote this verse from the Vedas, that out of all conscious beings, because we're conscious beings, Krishna is the supreme conscious being. Out of all eternal beings, Krishna is the supreme eternal being. And the difference between Krishna and us is that Eko Bahunam, out of all the many, there's one who is maintaining all the others. So, we can maintain ourselves, we might be able to maintain our family, we might be able to give some donations or support some other good causes, but we can't maintain everybody in the universe. But Krishna is maintaining everybody. Even whatever means we have to maintain ourselves is also coming from Krishna. So he is that one who is supremely conscious, who's the original person, who's maintaining all the others. And we can never do that because we're tiny. So we're 1/10,000th, the soul is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. We're just tiny little specks, practically like atomic. The soul is like atomic in size. Whereas Krishna is infinite. He's unlimited. But we're actually so fortunate that we can have an intimate relationship with such a great personality as Krishna. And that's because Krishna is an unlimited person. He has unlimited compassion and unlimited love. And therefore he can accommodate all of us in loving relationships as individuals. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the question. I think we're out of time. Yeah? There's something else? Okay, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Just a question. You mentioned that when you were growing up, you always had this spiritual quest for spiritual knowledge. What was the reason for that? Was it your family upbringing or some other reason? Why were you not after material prospects?
I'm not sure where it came from. I was just different, I was kind of different from everybody else. Everybody, the girls, especially in middle school, the girls are all excited about the boys and talking about boys and clothes and hair and shopping. And I was just I would just look at them seriously? There's so much more to life than this. There's got to be I don't know. I was more into reading books of philosophy and thinking a lot and trying to understand things. I always had this search for deeper meaning, and I'm not sure where it came from. I think it must have been from a previous life that I had this thirst for higher knowledge. That, my family and my friends all just they're just she's on a different wavelength. And then, it really wasn't until I met devotees that I finally kind of like found my people, I finally could like vibe with my tribe, like the people that I could, wow, this is a group of people who are also searching after higher knowledge and higher understanding and a spiritual connection, and who are not distracted by, the glittering and the material things, the glamour. You walk into a shopping mall and everything is all glamoury, and, the way they display things to try to attract your mind and make you want to have it. And it's like, I could just walk through a shopping mall and just be like, oh my God, what am I doing here? There's nothing here. There's not a single thing here that is useful in any way to me. So, I'd rather just be like with devotees, with reading Bhagavad Gita and talking about it, doing a little kirtan. That's like joy. That's where the joy is. So, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'm very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this knowledge. If Prabhupada hadn't come to the West and made the sacrifice that he did, I would have been a very frustrated individual in this world. But thank to Prabhupada that I was able to find what I was looking for. Hare Krishna.
Her Grace Prabhupada Premataji ki. Oh, we're very grateful you found your tribe to vibe with, because we would not have had the opportunity here to hear from you and have a really nice, I feel like that needs to be a t-shirt, look for the Hare Krishnas, to vibe your tribe with. I really like that. But thank you again so much for the wonderful class. Let's have another round of applause for Mataji for sharing such a I really like the point you had shared about how in Vrindavan Dham, where Krishna was performing his pastimes, these 5 limbs of devotional service that we often talk about, they were there. And sometimes it's easy, we just think it was something new or something that, we have to practice because the Shastra said, but Krishna and Mahaprabhu, through their example, lived that and showed us that it is anybody. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead could revel in sadhu sangha, then that's who are we to speak? We have to do it, kind of thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. Our next part of the program is we have Aarti. So we request everyone to please rise for Aarti, and then after Aarti we'll do some announcements and then we'll serve prasadam. Hare Krishna.
I don't know what this is, but it fell at some point. You can just stand.
Would you like to stand or harmonium? Okay. Everybody will dance.
Wait, what? I didn't have anything prepared. I just literally
Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivesesha Sunyavari Pashatya Deshatarine. Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Chaitanya Nityananda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare बिहारी श्री राधे जय राधा कुंज बिहारी राधा कुंज बिहारी श्री राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानीता 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 प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद
We request everyone to please bow down.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astotara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. ISKCON Round Rock Sangha Ki Jai. Samabeta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha. Shivatanka Nakhalaye. Ito Nasimha Bharato Nasimha. Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasimha. बहिर्नरसिंहो हृदये नरसिंहो नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे प्रपदे तव करकमलवरेण काम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे नरसिंहदेव जय जगदीश हरे करकमलवरेण काम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभु जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल गोप्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our Sunday program today. A special welcome to Her Grace Prabhupada Priya Devi Dasi, who is visiting us. She's our zonal supervisor for Texas from ISKCON GBC, so we're so grateful for her presence here today. It's the first time to ISKCON of Round Rock. Let's give a huge round of applause to welcome her. Any guests here for the first time? Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today here at our Sunday program. We have a special gift for guests visiting for the first time. Please make sure to pick it at the book table. We'd like to again thank Prabhupada Priya Mataji for such a wonderful class today, helping us understand the 5 aspects of bhakti and how we can connect with each other using the 5 teachings of bhakti as 5 limbs of bhakti as presented to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'd also like to thank Janaki for that absolutely wonderful kirtan. This is not her first time here to our temple, which is why we didn't welcome her with the newcomers, because we consider ISKCON of Round Rock like your home. Janaki is, I always consider her as like a part of this amazing Vaishnavi women who are part of a revolution to change how we see devotees as. She visited us 2 years ago, was it? It seems like a very long time ago, but maybe it was just a year ago, with a bunch of other young Vaishnavi girls called Gauranga girls. They travel, around North America, helping give the teachings of Prabhupada. These are just a bunch of 15, 20 young girls, who are just trying to share the teachings of Prabhupada with everyone they meet. And she's also instrumental in helping establish Krishna houses, which are these ashrams where young boys and girls are able to practice Krishna consciousness, connect to it, and practically apply this. We're very grateful to her and her support, and to continue to encourage girls of the future to take up Krishna consciousness in a very authentic and practical fashion. We'd also like to thank our pujaris for the beautiful deity decoration today and for the wonderful garlands and flowers on the altar. We'd like to, I should have edited this slide, but thank you to the devotees who cooked prasadam. The Gauranga youth served last week, so we thanked them already, but we're going to thank them again, hopefully inspiring them to serve next Sunday. So thank you for that. They're all looking at me like we were not told that, but it's okay. It's always get a good thank you. I'd also like to thank the devotees who cleaned before and after the program as well, and devotees who will be serving our prasadam here. Today, we have a sponsor. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Tarun Kishore Prabhu on the occasion of Devi Gaurangi Mataji's birthday. She looks very surprised. Devi Gaurangi Mataji and Tarun Kishore Prabhu and their entire family are such pillars of our foundation. Mataji is such a wonderful artist and has helped us do flower decorations for so many of our festivals. Mataji just came back from India. She was there for about 4 months. 4 months she was there, and we kept joking that whenever you see Tarun Kishore Prabhu, he just looked so sad. Like the light was just gone from him and from Ryan. They always looked like what is going to happen, and then that caused Mataji to come. The other way, I don't know how Mataji was. I don't have special vision to see in India. I only saw him, so he's a witness of that. So Prabhu sponsored today's Sunday feast for Mataji's birthday, which was on October 6th. So let us loudly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our gratitude to Devi Gaurangi Mataji and share our prayers and best wishes for her, that she may always continue to serve Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari and their devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you would like to ever sponsor a Sunday program for a special occasion like birthdays, anniversaries, promotion, learning how to ride a bike, there are many opportunities you can sponsor a Sunday program. So please do so. Sponsoring Sunday programs allows us to continue to do programs like this. So we're very grateful for sponsorship. You can also take a leaf from Tarun Kishore Prabhu's and sponsor on your wife's birthday. So that way you will also remember your spouse's birthdays too. So it serves multi-purposes. Upcoming festivals. This Monday is Ekadashi. Just tomorrow is Ekadashi. So please, those of you who fast, use this day as to fast, but also as a day to meditate more on the Lord by doing more spiritual practice. Dwadashi, which is on Tuesday, it is very important. I had to put this up here. The fast break time is only 3 minutes. There's a 3-minute window for a fast break time this Dwadashi. It is 10:19 to 10:22 a.m. It's a very, very short window, so those of you who try to break your fast within that short window, please do so. It's a 10:19 a.m. to 10:22 a.m. fast break window this time. Next Sunday, we're very excited. We're going to be having a special guest visiting us. This is Sachi Devi Dasi Mataji. Mataji is a renowned kirtanier. She's originally from South Africa, but she has done kirtan at various festivals around the world, and she's going to be coming to Austin to our temple here in Round Rock. We're going to be having, she's already so excited for the kirtan, which is awesome. On Friday, we're going to be having a bhajan Sandhya with Mataji here at the temple from 6 to 9 p.m. And then on Sunday, she will be here for a Sunday feast. She'll be giving class as well as leading Aarti. We are going to be having programs on Saturday. Some of the details are still being finalized, so please take a look at WhatsApp. By end of day today, we will have final details about Mataji's program. Has anyone heard her sing before? Anyone has heard her? Okay. So I'm going to play a small clip of her kirtan. Hopefully, the audio will come.
तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्यमनुभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा तदा ददाति
This kirtan was from Srila Prabhupada's 50th anniversary of departure from the Jaladuta harbor at the festival that took place there. So Mataji has performed at various festivals around the globe. So please mark your calendars. It is going to be a very blissful kirtan event on Friday, and then of course Saturday, and then Sunday. So it's going to be an ecstatic week. And October is always special because it's a lead on to what happens in the end of the month when we have Kartik coming up. So we'll have more announcements about a lot of fun stuff planned for the month of Kartik. We have some very special guests who will be visiting us as the Kartik starts. So stay tuned for more information. Last Sunday, we were so blessed to have His Holiness Guru Prasad Maharaj here, and we spoke a lot about Srimad Bhagavatam and the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here you can see some pictures of some very lucky souls around Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, who received Srimad Bhagavatam. So I don't have all final numbers yet, but the goal that was established was to distribute 55,000 Bhagavatam sets globally. So in our temple, we put a very small goal because there's a lot going on. So we said we just have a goal of 5 Bhagavatam sets. But Shri Radha Kunj Bihari had another plan, and we ended up distributing 12 sets throughout Pada Purnima. I think this also included, Gopava Prabhu is not here, but this also included our first Bhagavatam set ever distributed on the street. So we've never done that before that I am aware of. Have you done that before? I don't think we did. This was the first time, we were able to distribute a Bhagavatam set while out on Sankirtan, which has never happened. Gopava Prabhu is not here, but, Gopava Prabhu, Ramkeshwar Prabhu, and so many devotees did so much to help distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. So we want to chant the Mahamantra to express gratitude to these devotees who helped distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And even though Bhadra Purnima is done, if you still would like a Bhagavatam set, please do contact them, because anytime it's auspicious time to get Srimad Bhagavatam in your house, and anytime you give this gift, it is always special. So let us loudly chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our gratitude to those devotees for distributing Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My child is telling me she wants prasadam soon, so we're going to get through this. We're almost done. So after Bhadra Purnima, the next thing that comes is the Gita Marathon, leading up to Gita Jayanti later this year. Bhagavad Gitas that have been sponsored by all of you have actually been placed in hospitals, libraries, therapy centers, hotels all over US. So our temple, over the past 10 years that we've been distributing books, we have placed over 10,000 books like this. And I actually did the math. It's slightly more than that. It was staggering for me to see as well. So these books have only been placed by your support. So please continue to help us. You can sponsor a box of Gitas that can be used for placement. You can send a box of books to your friends and family. 1 book, 10 books, 20 books. We run our shipping services here at ISKCON of Round Rock. It happens from the study in my house, but yes, we do offer shipping services. And you can also purchase Gitas to distribute to your friends and family. In this picture, you see Surottama Prabhu, who was recently attending a conference at work, and he took a bunch of Bhagavad Gitas with him. And his friends that he met at the conference, he was giving them Bhagavad Gita. So please do that. This is a great way to share this knowledge with others. Just general announcements here. We request, we try to be a safe temple. We request parents to watch over your children, particularly in high traffic areas like the garage and the driveway, and make sure, and the play area, we request children not to be playing or running around in the driveway or outside the garage for their safety. And children should be supervised around all of these areas. Please make sure to take your belongings when you leave the temple. If you or any of your family members need special assistance during Prashadam serve out, please let the servers know. And if you plan to go into the temple room, this is an important announcement. Our doors now auto-close. It's important for me to say that because they have a lot of strength. So it's actually a little harder to open the doors because they close really. So just be a little careful. The doors are not locked, but make sure they close behind you as well when you're leaving to keep the air conditioning cool. If you'd like to volunteer for a temple, please join our WhatsApp group. QR codes to join the groups are right outside the temple. Our gift bags also have QR codes to join our WhatsApp group. You can stay in touch through WhatsApp. You can join our mailing list. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And if you enjoyed your time here today, please leave us a Google review. Your Google reviews allow others to find our temple, so more and more people are able to come. And those of you who left us a Google review, left us a 5-star rating, thank you so much for that. It's greatly appreciated. And last month alone, we had over 12,000 hits on our pages because people were finding us on Google. So thank you so much for that. With that, we will end our Sunday program and chant Prashadam prayers. Again, thank you all for joining. We look forward to seeing you this Friday for our Bhajan Sunday and future Sunday programs. Hare Krishna. Mahaprasade Govinde.
ताके जिता कठिन संसारे धन बर दयामय कार्य बर जीव जन स्वप्रसाद दियो मैं शयनामृत कृष्ण गुण गा प्रेमे ताको श्री चैतन्य निताय जय निमाय जय निताय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम